Hey, everybody. Randy Patterson here with Boomerocity. And as you already know, we love the blues here at Boomerocity. And it's always a thrill to talk to any of the blues artists who are really making a dent in that genre. And of course, if you're into blues, you already know who Kenny Wayne Shepherd is. And I have interviewed Kenny before one other time, and this was about 2.5 years ago. And it was kind of fun. He was in his vehicle on his way from his home in Louisiana to Memphis, Tennessee, and we were just doing an audio recording. It's still on boomerocity.com, so you can look it up there on the website. This one's video, and we're here to talk about his latest album. That, as I'm recording this, it is in July, but the album comes out in September, which is probably when this video will land. And it's about his latest album called Dirt on My Diamonds Volume 2. Obviously, the follow-up to Dirt on My Diamonds Volume 1 that came out last year. Both are great albums. He's got tours coming up. One of them is with Experience Hendrix. So if you heard one of the more recent interviews I've done in the last few weeks with Eric Johnson, we talk a lot about that. And so does Kenny. And so we get both of these guitar greats' perspective on playing the ultimate guitar great, which was Jimi Hendrix. But we talk a lot about this new album, touring, all that kind of stuff. Fun interview. Definitely one you want to share with your friends. So if you don't mind, would you hit like on whatever platform you're watching or listening to this on? Subscribe to this channel on those platforms, on any or all of them, YouTube, any of the podcast platforms, and we're working on a new video platform as well. And if you don't mind, hit subscribe, and then if you don't mind sharing it with your friends as well, and ask them to do the same thing. It doesn't cost you anything, and it helps us out tremendously. So without any further ado, here is my second interview with blues guitarist Kenny Wayne Shepherd. Until next time, this is Randy Patterson with Boomerocity. Take care. So it's been a couple years, but before we chat about this new album, I've been dying to ask you about Volume 1. How did Volume 1 go for you?
Well, it's still going, and it's going really well. It's like the metrics to measure success nowadays when it comes to records are so different.
Yeah.
Because back in the day, you could put a record out and service it to radio and watch it run up the charts or not, and watch the first week's album sales and how many people go out and buy it. And it's different now, and streaming is kind of the barometer. But really, for us, like I think for most hardworking acts, the real barometer for success is like, are you selling tickets to your shows? Is the music connecting with the fans and motivating them to come out and see you play live? And that's what we do best. That's the reason we make records, is so we can entertain the people and play live concerts. And
Mhm.
and as far as that's concerned, it seems that we're still doing a good job. And the new music is definitely resonating with people, and people are connecting with it because we see it from the stage. We're doing about half, a little more than half the songs from the new from Volume 1 in the live show, and people, you can see them react to it. You can see them groove into it. You can see people singing along to it. You go, oh yeah, they've heard those songs. So I would say by all accounts and purposes, things are going great, and it makes it that much more exciting to get Volume 2 out this
Mhm.
September, and give people, the next edition of this project.
What does so far, and I know it kind of tends to ebb and flow, and maybe it even varies from town to town, but from Volume 1, what are you sensing is a crowd favorite from the album?
Well, I don't know. Each one of them is a little different. I mean, Dirt on My Diamonds, the title track, seems to go over really well. Sweet and Low goes over really well. Oh, but I will say this, because people love to hear us play the blues, right?
Right.
And so that song Ease My Mind, which I think is the last track on Volume 1, which is kind of just like a back alley blues song. People really, really dig that. And because in the show, it's an opportunity for like an extended guitar solo. So the song,
Yeah.
we improvise on that one, and the crowd definitely loves that one for sure.
Well, the last time I interviewed you, right after that, I think it was right after that, you came here to Knoxville. I'm actually up in Sevierville in the Smokies, but you played a show at the Bijou in Knoxville, and you had Allie Venable with you, and my God, you guys both together and separate. Wow, that's probably I put that down as one of the best blues shows I've been to, and
Thank you.
for both of you, I mean, you both
Yeah,
did
she's great.
phenomenal. She
Allie's
is
great. There's a great, there's a nice roster of young artists, in the blues community, the blues rock world, whatever label you want to throw on it. But there's a slew of young people that are doing this kind of music, and they're doing it really well. And it's great to see because I was a part of that movement, when I was coming up. And every time you see a new generation of young artists bringing their own spin on this music, then you kind of it's reassuring to know that it's going to keep moving the genre forward, and it's going to continue to keep it relevant, because as long as there's new people coming into it, especially the young people, because the young people turn other young people onto the
yeah,
music.
I agree.
And so I think it's just a great thing to see.
I think for me personally, I'm gonna be turning 65 this fall, but for me, I mean, that's just old enough to kind of watch blues kind of ebb and flow. It kind of makes a little bit of resurgence. It comes back down. And so when you and some of the other, Bonamassa and some of the others started coming out, I was thinking, well, it's going to be good while it lasts. I hope everybody remembers it. But like you just inferred here, all these young people coming in and playing it well and
Mhm.
creating good new music to boot. I'm kind of excited. I think it blues may be around for the rest of my days in a big way. So I'm excited about that. Do you feel the same way?
Yeah, well, I definitely think that. I mean, look, the genre is over 100 years old at this point. It's been around over a century, so it's not going anywhere. But yes, it's cyclical. You'll see these cycles in popularity and these resurgences and interest in the genre. And I think we're experiencing that right now. And yeah, I've been around long enough now to have seen it happen a few times. So I know how it works, and it's proven itself to be a timeless genre of music, and
Mm.
it's a pretty incredible platform for people to build new music off of. And so that's kind of always been my approach, is to take blues music as the foundation of what we do, and then try and see what I can add to that to make it sound, new, current, and different.
Right. Now, you recorded both volume one and volume two at the same time, or am I misunderstanding that?
Well, this was over a period of time, but the songs were all written around the same time. So they all came relatively out of the same writing session. It could have been divided up and into 2 records and not been companion pieces, but I just thought, there's a common thread kinda running through these songs, and they were written, right around the same time. And I also thought it was compelling. Like, there's not a lot of people that are putting out multi-volume projects right now. So it's just to do something different and and interesting. And I think, that, like I said, the albums could have stood completely alone on their own, but I also think they make good companion pieces for one another, and it makes for a compelling package.
Great. And it gives it a good reason to be released so close to each other too. Not so, I mean, not real close, but close
Spread
enough to
out.
be, yeah. So did you record both of them in Muscle Shoals or just this volume two?
So they actually were not recorded there. It's a little bit confusing, I think, in the bio, but the songs were we wrote them. We went into Fame Recording Studios down in Muscle Shoals for like a week, and we wrote a batch of songs. And
Oh, okay.
most of which is basically creates both of these records. But by the time we actually recorded the record, we were out in Los Angeles, so
Ah,
the
okay.
album was recorded in LA, but it was conceived and birthed out of Muscle Shoals.
Well, do you feel, I mean, I interviewed Rick Hall before he passed when he came out with his book, and the guy started Fame Studios, and he's a tough guy, but a very talented guy. Did you feel any kind of vibe in that place? Did you feel the spirits of albums past there or anything
Yeah,
like that?
that's why we went down there for sure. I mean, that place is like a time warp. I mean, you literally walk in that building and it's like going back in time. I don't think hardly anything has been changed about that studio since,
Right.
you know, so many years ago when those legendary albums were recorded there. So part of it was like just to change things up because, 90% of the time, if I'm writing songs for a record, it either happens in Louisiana or it happens in Nashville, right? And so just historically, those are the two places that I've written songs most frequently in. And so we just decided we want to do something different, change it up a little bit, and yes, go down there and kind of, tap into some of that vibe they have going on.
Yeah, for sure. It's the just the history on it just blows my mind. And so a friend of mine, Andy Timmons, was over in England, was over in the Abbey Road studios, and he was kind of feeling the same way about being there,
Okay.
he. I do think places have vibes. Have some people may say it's spirits. It could be, but I do think there's something to it. So it's cool, and you can feel it in this new album. And speaking of, have you been playing much of the new album? I know it doesn't come out until September, but you playing songs from it yet? And if so, what's the crowd reaction seem to be, and what do they seem to gravitate to song wise?
Well, we haven't started playing these songs yet because traditionally what I like to do is I don't like to play songs until they're available to the public because first impressions I think mean a lot to me, and
Hmm.
so I want their first impression of a new song. I want them to have the opportunity to hear the recorded version first instead of like a recording from somebody's cell phone. You know what I mean?
Yeah, yeah.
At a concert, because there's no quality control in that. And so if they can hear the record first, then they can hear the best representation sonically of the song, and then they can come see us play it live. So since we started, I think today they dropped another song today, but we're putting out one song each month between, I think it started in well, I guess it started in June. So June, July, August, and September when the record comes out. So each month, a song will be released off of it. And so we were not on the road when when they put out I Got a Woman, and we're not on the road right this moment. We'll be doing some shows later this week. So we will be incorporating those songs into the show now that they're out there, right? But
Hmm.
we haven't had a chance to play them yet. We've been working them up in sound checks and rehearsing them and stuff. And of course, I think they sound great, but we'll see what the audience thinks once
Yeah.
we start playing them.
So speaking of touring, I know you've got you're going to be hitting the road. It looks like you're going to be hitting. See, I jotted it down. You're going to be in Bristol, my neck of the woods, in August, and then my former neck of the woods, Arizona, and close to my neck of the woods in Nashville in October. Tell fans what they can expect from this tour. What can they look forward to?
Well, so what we're currently doing is we're supporting volume one. We will begin also supporting volume two. So right now the set has about half of the new record, and then it has a whole collection of other songs from our catalog that now spans almost 30 years, right?
Hmm.
And
Hmm.
I went and deliberately went and brought some songs back into the live show that we hadn't played in a long time. Like there's a song called Was that was a single off the Live On record that we hadn't played since 2001. And
Wow.
that's the opening song for the set. And you can see all these people's faces light up that remember that song and haven't heard it. And they've probably seen us many, many times since then, but haven't heard us play that song. So
Right.
I decided, I intentionally went and picked some songs like and put them in the show because we got a lot of fans that have seen us multiple times and keep coming back. So I want them to have a new experience every time they come. So we're featuring, new material from volume one. We'll be incorporating songs from volume two as well. And then we're tapping into the catalog. And there's obviously the songs that people want to hear, that they expect to hear, Blue on Black. We're doing like Deja Voodoo, which was the first single we ever put out back in 1995. And we got the blues songs are in there, just like a whole host of material. And, if there's no opening act, the show runs right around 2 hours long. If there's an opening act, obviously it's a little bit shorter, but it's guitar centric, it's blues based, it's high energy. And it's, for me, I think it's great music that people are going to enjoy coming out and hearing. So, but having said all of that, by the time we get around to September, and when you're talking about us being in Nashville, at that point, we will have shifted gears from doing the Kenny Wayne Shepherd tour to the Experience Hendrix tour.
We're there.
And so, yeah, so that's going to be uh, you know, there's I don't know how many acts are on that, but it's always this incredible roster of guitar players paying tribute to the greatest guitar player of all time. It's all Jimi Hendrix's music. It's put on by the Jimi Hendrix Estate, run by Jimi Hendrix, and you
Yep.
know, it's just like I mean, we've done it so many times over the years. It really started as this one-off deal in Seattle at a club that we were all just like, "Hey, let's go play some music and pay tribute to Jimmy," and it snowballed into this massive tour. And I'm really excited to be back on it again, and for it to, you know, everything took a hiatus due to COVID, but now things are kind of back to normal. That you know, it's time to crank that tour back up again. It's going to be a lot of fun.
I interviewed Jamie a couple times, and I know off the record, I mean, not that she was trying to hide it, but while we were not recording, and maybe part of it did get on the recording, I can't recall. But boy, the accolades she heaped on both you and Eric Johnson, about how you treat her, have been treating her brother's music, and how you serve it up that way. I mean, she spoke very, very highly of both of you. How do you feel being in that tour? What is that? What kind of impact has that had on you, both as from your playing to your view of the music in general, and performing all of that? Did it make any impact on you?
Well, I mean, his music has always been an incredible platform for guys that love to play guitar. If you're going to cover his songs, they give you this platform to just really do your thing, you know. And I mean, he's one of my biggest influences and always has been. And so I've covered several of his songs over the course of my career. So for me, you know, he's one of my idols. I love his music. I'm very familiar with a lot of his music, and so it's just a lot of fun. And you have so many great guitar players, incredible artists up there, you know. And so watching them do his music as well, and then you know, there's opportunities where guys come together and jam. And I mean, it's just if you're a fan of guitar music and guitar players, I mean, it's a tour that's not to be missed.
Agreed. Agreed. Did I asked Eric this last week when I interviewed him? I'll ask you: is in playing his music, Hendrix's music. I mean, from Eric's position, it was, standard tuning. Did you find it to be that way? And do you tune differently to be able to play Hendrix's stuff?
Well, yeah, I mean, most of his stuff, well, a lot of his stuff, maybe not all, but a lot of it, his guitar's tuned a half step down to E flat instead of
Right.
E40. But other than that, it's not like he played a bunch of open tunings or anything like that. So,
Mhm.
um, yeah, I mean, that's probably the only thing that I do is I tune my guitars down a half step just so that I'm in the right key for those songs, you
Right
know?
key. I see.
Yeah.
So, what else is on your radar besides these tours, the release of the album in September? You got anything else percolating on your radar there?
Yeah, well, I've got about 4 different records in the works right now. So,
Wow.
yeah, and, it's all very exciting stuff. Some traditional blues, some straight ahead rock stuff, some, you know, middle of the road blues rock stuff. I mean, everything kinda in between. And, we have the 30th anniversary of the Ledbetter Heights record coming up next year. So,
Cool.
you know, we did a re-record of the Trouble Is album for the 25th anniversary of that record. And
Mhm.
so we're doing a new version of the Ledbetter Heights album. And what's cool about that, the Trouble Is record that we did, the anniversary album, was very, very, very similar to the original, right? And one of the reasons for that is because we had almost all the exact same players involved, you know, from the, you know, Jerry Harrison producing it to all the musicians, you know, except for Tommy Shannon on bass. You know, he's been retired for some time now, but everybody else that was on the original album was there and played on the new version of that record. Well, Ledbetter Heights is a different story. There's, you know, not all of those guys are around, and not the, you know, there's a different singer on that album. And so that kind of gave us the opportunity to revisit the sound of the Ledbetter Heights record. And so we took a few more liberties on that record than we did on the anniversary version of Trouble Is. So there's some reinterpretation of some of those songs, but just by the nature of, you know, we have Noah singing, you know, just most of the songs on that on the new version of Ledbetter Heights. So it's going to sound different no matter what. And so we took the opportunity to have some fun with it and do some different things with it. So that's, on the horizon, and along with, 3 other albums that I'm working on. So, and it'll be cool. We put that out. We'll probably put that out. I'm hoping like towards the end of next year, right at the 30th anniversary of the release of the original, and then we can maybe go out and do a tour for that record, like we did for the Trouble Is record, where we play the whole entire Ledbetter Heights album live in concert for the first time.
That would be wonderful. Very wonderful. Well, man, I let's when those records start dropping or getting close to dropping, let's get together again and talk in more detail about it and the tours that would be supported and all that. I'm going to try to catch one of your shows around there, either Bristol or maybe Nashville. You're not hitting Knoxville at all this year, are you?
I don't think so, but doesn't mean we won't be there next year. So,
Right, right. Well, maybe I can catch you in Nashville or in Bristol. And either way, though, I wish you the best on the road. And I'm sure this album's going to be great because I love it. If I'm in the indication, I think you're going to do exceptionally well on it. And as I said before, Kenny, my door's always open to you. So I look forward to talking to you again down the road and enjoy the downtime with your family.
Thank you.
All right. Take care, man. Be safe.
All right, good.